Hey everybody, welcome back to a very special spoiler episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about spoiled cards in the game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love spoiling cards. And as David said, it's going to be a very special episode, so stay tuned as we spoil cards and thank patrons.
Oh, Ted. So, real quick, let's run down the spoiler list. The spoilers on the mind. Spoilers on the mind. We can run down the patron list, the patrons who help keep this show going. We're excited to have you guys, and thanks so much for all your generous support. We're still waiting for somebody to hit the Ready Teddy level at $20 a thing. Remember, if you so generously give us $20 one time, you can call Ted Bannock, our host, Ready Teddy, anytime.
And I won't even get mad. I won't even get mad. I'll just accept it.
Mad, right? He just has to take it and smile.
Maybe around convention time is when we'll see someone hit the...
Yeah, right. I'm sure somebody out there will do that. But we do have 17 amazing patrons. We have Daniel, David, Joseph, Jason, Joshua, Justin, Kyle, Lou, Matt, Mike, Dominic, Phil, Rob, Robert, Russ, and Sean. All of those folks are amazing patrons, and without them, we couldn't keep the show going. So thank you so much. And normally I'd come up with some little quippy anecdote about our patrons, but I think everybody just wants to get to the card. So, Grant, the floor is yours, my friend.
Today we are talking about the spoiler of Aragorn, the spirit hero, with 12 threat, 2 attack, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points. He's a Dunedain Ranger Scout. He has Sentinel. And he has the action exhaust Aragorn to choose a location in the staging area until the end of the phase. That location gets minus X threat, where X is Aragorn's willpower. If this effect reduces the location's threat down to 0, place 1 progress token on it. Limit once per round.
We got a hot one for you.
It's funny because as this card was spoiled, and we're recording this, 8 or 10 hours after the article came out. And so as this Aragorn has been spoiled, it seems like this has been drawing a lot of mixed reviews in the community. And I, for one, am also mixed about this. And let me also say that here we know that the pack lived somewhere before these spoilers, but Card Talk definitely didn't go out and look at it or do anything with it. We wanted to respect the game. This is the final AP, so we wanted to make sure that we were respecting this final AP and what it means for the game wrapping up. It's a bittersweet moment, and we want to enjoy it as best we can, and we want to bring all this exciting news and spoilers to the community as it's happening. So we're excited to spoil this and with the community and not live in that weird get it beforehand. So anyway, so knowing this card for about 10 hours, Grant, well, you and I, Grant, we have a long storied history with Aragorns, where, we fought about which Aragorn is the best Aragorn. So where do you put this Aragorn? Like, what, maybe not compared to other Aragorns, although I'm sure that's going to come, but, what do you think of this particular, what's your gut saying about this guy?
I'm not sure. I'll have to get him on the table to say for sure. In theory, it seems all right, but whether or not it translates in practice is another matter. Generally speaking, you don't want to be using your heroes for a somewhat lackluster ability, which, in all honesty, that's what this seems to be. You exhaust minimize threat on a location, and there's other cards that you can use to do that without having to waste your hero stat line on it. You've got stuff like is it it's not Radagast's Cunning, it's the other one.
Secret Paths from the
Secret
core
Path.
set.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got stuff like that to mitigate location area, threaten the locations.
Mm-hmm.
So using your hero to do that, it seems a bit lackluster. I mean, you've got allies that can do the same sort of thing. Bomber can cancel threat of underground locations. You've got northern trackers that help clear out locations in the staging area. So basically just get one progress token on a location that drops to 0 threat because of his ability, it doesn't seem all that important.
Okay. Ted, what's your gut on this?
Well, so we have to compare him up against the other Aragorns, right? And
you're gonna do it.
This one's interesting. It's very cool that we got 4 versions of him. Each one has their own trait, right? Because this one's Scout, we have a Noble, a Ranger, and Tactics Aragorn is Warrior.
The Warrior, yep.
Right?
And
so
are
he's
they
got
all
a couple...
Dunedain Rangers?
Right.
Are they? I'm not sure.
Let's see
and
here.
Then it's, I don't know. We'll have to.
He pairs really nicely with Warden of Arnor, which is the spirit attachment that's unique. It's a title that goes in a scout hero. And while the attached hero is committed to the quest, place a progress on the first location revealed by the encounter deck each round. So you have a chance to do some consistent location exploration if you have action advantage. So if you have an unexpected courage, the first location coming out of the deck with Aragorn's ability could be getting 2 progress around. And it's a little bit of work to do. And he also has a very robust stat line.
As do all the Aragorns.
As do all the Aragorns, which is nice because it gives you flexibility. Having, if you need to Sentinel defend, you got it covered. If you need to attack, you got it covered. But he will fit into that location exploring archetype very, very well. Arguably a little better than Lore Aragorn, even though they're pretty close, because Lore Aragorn then gives you lore, which is a lot of those types of cards. But he's gonna have his place in the game. What about you, David?
Yeah, so I was gonna say that I think me being actually I can't say that much anymore because I've been playing a lot multiplayer, but I have also been playing a lot solo. But my roots are in solo play, and so when I look at this guy, the first thing that comes to mind is Argalad, right? It's a spirit version of Argalad, and Argalad, I was underimpressed with.
Yeah,
until
so Argalad's ability lets you. He's a hero. Let's lore, and you exhaust him, and the enemy gets -2 threat, and if their threat reaches 0,
well, it gets -X threat, where X is Argalad's willpower.
Right.
It's the same.
Or his
it's
attack.
the same.
His attack.
Oh, it's his attack, right?
Yep.
So
and he has a base of 2.
Right. And so the what Argalad suffers from is that in order for you to really worry about that ability or to use that ability to its fullest, you have to boost his attack. And what's the problem with lore and boosting attack? There's a limited numbers of cards in lore that can boost attack. Obviously, since Argalad came out, that has gotten a little bit bigger with Legacy Blade and Glamdring. There's some lore attachments. But this card hit the spot because you're in spirit. That's the beauty of this card. That's the awesome design feature of this card, is that if you want to boost spirit, if you want to boost willpower, those are spirit cards. That's that's where you have the circlet that just came out in this cycle. You have
Silver Circlet. That's an attachment that gives a spirit hero +2 willpower. So one circlet on Aragorn, he's up to 4.
Right.
And
that's
most
not restricted.
locations
I think
have
that's
4.
just limit 1 per.
There's very few locations in the game that have more than 4 threat, that have 5 or more.
And the other thing, and Ted, you touched on this, is that when you're using Argalad, what you can do is you can use Argalad to quest, and then you can ready him, and then you can use him to then do his thing. Or you can do it in any order that is governed by the gameplay. Like, you can do the 1 damage before you quest. It's just an action. You can do it any round. And so here, again, it's Spirit, so it's in Sphere for the easiest of readying effects, right? And so I think that this version of Aragorn is going to be one that I'll be really interested to see for those people who are like poo-pooing it and say I'm underwhelmed by it. It'll be interesting because I have come around to saying that Argalad's by no means the best hero in the game, but Argalad is good. He's good, and so I think that this version of Aragorn, while not the best version of Aragorn, I think this version of Aragorn is definitely going to be useful, and I think that it also probably more so in multiplayer than in solo play. But I think that I'll be interested to play this solo to see if I can really boost him up and really start dealing with locations, because again, it's in Sphere for all that location control.
Mm-hmm.
Northern Tracker and Sylvan, not the Sylvan Tracker, but the
you have
what's the other core set one that
we have Rovanian Outrider.
Yeah.
When he quests, he puts a progress on a location in the staging area.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Sylvan and the core set that puts locations on the act, or puts
Lorien Guide.
The Lorien Guide, right? That's it. So I mean, those are all in Sphere, and then I'm really jibbery jabbery on these episodes. So
you're too excited.
I'm super excited.
We're spoiling our card, everybody.
And then I think that also, if you play Thorngil, which is the attachment that was spoiled with this,
we should mention that card because now it has great impact with Aragorn.
Right. So Thorngil, which our friends over at Cardboard of the Rings had before it was part of a spoiler that they were allowed to have. But you basically play it for 3, which I think is super cheap for its ability. Maybe not super cheap, but it seems cheap.
Yeah. Just cover what does the card do really quickly?
So it's like, so you play it and then you pay 3. It's an attachment, and
it's
then
neutral.
It's neutral, right? And then you dig out a non-Fellowship, non-Baggins version of the same card. So same named card. So if you're playing Spirit Aragorn, you can go and get Leadership Aragorn, which is now you're readying.
Right. So if you play Thorongil on him,
and you get the resource icon too. So you have a double Sphere hero. So
yep,
I would suggest playing this with Leadership Aragorn, and then you just have like a Tower Aragorn. Like Voltron Aragorn has always been a thing, but now it's even more of a thing because now he can do all sorts of crazy things with locations, and and of course Lore Aragorn is awesome because you get to lower your threat and stuff.
He's a phenomenal Thorongil target.
It's
bonkers.
Right. So, there's all sorts of options, but I think that this Spirit version of Aragorn, while not amazing as being the last hero that we're ever going to get for now in this iteration of the game, I think he's, I would guess, pretty good You know, I just think that it fits
He's
right in with
pretty good.
So, okay, so that's my long-winded, why I think Aragorn is good. But Grant, so what are you playing with this spirit Aragorn? Like, what kind of heroes play with him, or like what cards with the scout or ranger trait are we including in a deck with this guy? We touched on the silver circlet and things that favor the lady. All his toys.
Yeah, Aragorn's toys, like of the Calabrian stone. If you're running 3 hunters, that makes it even easier to boost his willpower, and then he can take out any location that pretty much comes into play using his ability.
While you say that, let me just clarify, because I don't know if I made it clear, is that you can use his ability to reduce the threat to 0, and then you can quest with him again. So you're basically committing twice as much to the quest every time you're using him.
Only
so like
him after you use his action.
Right, and of course I get. I don't know, like, that's where Argalad, like, the beauty of Argalad came into play. And I was talking about it, but I don't think I was clear about, you have to use him, you ready him, and then you quest with him, and now you've basically committed him twice to the quest. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to...
That's where Light of Valinor came in very handy for Argalad, because you could quest with him and then trigger his ability to cancel the threat of an enemy. Whereas with Aragorn, the only way to really manipulate that is if you're using Thorongil and using Leadership Aragorn's ability to ready him after he commits to the quest, and then in staging you can exhaust him again to wipe out a threat of location.
Is he a good target for Elf Friend so that you can put Light of Valinor on him?
That's getting into jank there, David.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I mean...
Grant makes really great points. Yeah, essentially, he's got his regular action for the turn, and he's got this ability, and David, you also bring up a point. If you boost his willpower, you can essentially count his willpower twice in the circumstance you're using his ability. So let's say, for example, you have a silver circlet to give him +2 willpower, so he has a total of 4, and an unexpected courage. He can quest for 4, and then also make a 4-threat location be 0. So in that circumstance, with those 2 cards, he's effectively contributing kind of 8 willpower.
Right. Pseudo-questing for 8. Right, he's pseudo-questing for 4, and then questing for 4. That's a total of 8.
Any action advantage. So yeah, Grant, you bring up a great point where Argalad got Light of Valinor, but there's lots of ways to get actions, right?
Wait,
Leadership
stop,
Frodo?
Stop. Leather Boots? What does Leather Boots do?
Leather Boots is an amazing card with him.
Anytime a location is revealed from the deck, exhaust Leather Boots to ready the hero, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, and you have to put it on a ranger, right? Doesn't have
Which
to go
he's
on a
still
scout,
ranger traded.
or
either a ranger or low character, I believe.
Right. I mean, Leather Boots on this guy is exactly
the perfect card.
It's like the card that you want to put on him, because
and
if it's not a location that
lore
you're
resource.
not going to use, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I like all of a sudden. I just played Leather Boots a couple of times this past week, so like I had it fresh in my mind. I was like, oh my god, action advantage. You don't even need to play Unexpected Courage for 2. You can play Leather Boots for 1.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going, Ted. Sorry.
No, you guys were, yeah. Any card that gives him action advantage. So Leadership Frodo, you can start the game with in play. And David, your pick of Leather Boots is fantastic. That's actually, I think, probably the single best card. You can also do Wingfoot. So if you pair him with one lore hero, you can run, 2 or 3 copies of Leather Boots and then 1 or 2 copies of Wingfoot. just to increase your chances of drawing it. Because Wingfoot essentially does the same thing. And for Wingfoot, you can name a location. And then when a location gets revealed, Leather Boots is kind of the more restricted, non-unique version of that, which I think is better in this circumstance. But so many ways to get heroes. And his ability is limit once per round, so keep that in mind. He cannot pick 2 or 3 locations and make them all be minus and then all put progress on them. But yeah, there's lots of ways to get an action out of him. And
well, and he also
he can do some work.
And he also has the stats that, like, action advantage is great. I mean, he has the typical Aragorn stats. So, of course you're going to boost his willpower, but 3 attack. You ready him and you don't get a location, and you ready him, and like you're not wasting a ready on this character if for some reason there's no locations in the staging area, right? Or if you don't get, like, it's not being wasted because his stats are so useful.
Yeah, and having a hero with 5 hit points in case you have to soak an undefended attack, you have a place to put the damage.
Right.
I think he'll only fit into he'll really shine only in like a certain type of build, and it's going to be this lore spirit deck that works on location control, and he'll really shine there. But it'll be a very powerful deck because you're going to play him. Right. You're going to play Heirs of Rendell, which gets rid of locations. You're going to put Thorongil and give him Lord Aragorn's ability. Like, it's going to be he's going to get boots. He's going to get Wingfoot. He's going to get unexpected courages.
Right.
Stuff's going to happen.
Right. You put Elf Friend on him. I mean, Elf Friend, my understanding, and Grant, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the Dune Edine, the Edine part of that means Elf Friend in Sindarin. So, I think that for him to have Elf Friend on him, all his versions make sense to have Elf Friend on him because of the stuff that you can do with elves. But, I think that like Haldan, Aragorn, and Argalad is like begging to be built, right? Like,
yeah, I think that I think it'll be Spirit. I think the lineup will be Spirit Aragorn, Spirit Glorfindel, and then a lore hero of your choosing. Because then you get access to Ashfaloth, Glorfindel, and Ranger Boots and Wingfoot.
Right.
And
then Haldan has action advantage built in. That's why I said Haldan.
Yep. Yeah. Haldan, Barivor, like, take your pick. A lot of good targets.
So what?
I think the most excited lineup to run is a Bond of Friendship contract deck with all 4 versions of Aragorn.
Start with 48 threat.
And start with 48 threat. The deck is highly illegal.
After the first
don't care.
round, you trigger Lore Aragorn to bring your threat back down to 48.
Right.
You're at 49.
Yep. That's what I'm going to do.
Favor of the Valar would be a great include right there, right? Bring it down to 45. You're 3 points lower than what you start.
I'm just going to play all 4 versions of Aragorn all at the same time.
Right. So Grant, what else? What are you playing with this? I mean, what as we're talking, what has been triggering in your mind here?
I was thinking maybe running probably Spirit Legolas and Leadership Gimli.
So a 3 hunters deck.
Little Trey Hunters, eh?
Yep. Mainly due to the fact that that way you've got access to more card draw through if you're running Thorongil and getting the lore icon from Lore Aragorn, plus the ability to reduce your threat because you're starting off with 31 threat.
Yep. That's always good. I think that even playing this with the 3 hunters, Leadership, Gimli, Oh, did you say leadership Gimli?
Mhm.
Hero?
Yeah, he did.
For some reason, I was thinking leadership Gimli ally.
Ally? Oh,
yeah,
no, I'm pretty sure Grant
as
is a hero.
MOTK. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that would be a fun build, because you can quest right off the rip, right? Like, I mean, it's amazing. I don't know.
Should we talk about
Go ahead.
his art for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead. That seems to also be a topic of discussion there.
Yep. I like that it's different. You know, each version of Aragorn on the artwork feels very distinct.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the more I look at it, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is just you know, because if it was another iteration of like Strider, of him kind of being like hooded and cloaked like the Ranger, I don't think I'd like that. So I do like his design. David, you brought up something about his art.
Yeah.
Can you please bring that up?
Yeah. So I think the one thing that I look at, as I say, nobody ever holds a burning brand that close to nobody holds a torch that close to the torch. Like, he's got 1.5 feet of torch to hold, and he's holding it an inch from the.
Yes. So
the other thing that annoys me before you do that, Ted, is I think he's got a center part, and you never trust a guy with a center part. Anyways, so go ahead, Ted. What were you going to say about?
You mean like his his clasp, like?
No, his hair. The part in his hair is
right. I
is
see.
the center part.
I see his hair. Okay.
So, but anyways, go ahead.
Yes, you brought that up about the torch, and it's very funny because he's holding the torch, which looks to be about 18 inches. If you're listening, so it's like a normal sized torch. The torch is lit. He's exploring some type of cave, and he's holding the torch about like an inch or two below. And I feel like the artist just didn't think that through,
right?
Or has never been around fire. Because if you were to hold a torch like that, your hands they're gonna be burnt. Like, it's too hot, especially a torch of that size.
Right. And to be fair, because I think the art is good.
To be fair, he's Aragorn.
Alexander Karsk. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name, but Alexander Karsk. Like, he did Thalion's art, and like, he's done some good art in the game. So the quality of this artwork is good. I just think it's funny that the quality of the artwork fits the game, and everything that's there. I just think it's really funny that he's holding it like an inch from the like, and that's how much of a man he is. Notice that his face is just like, that doesn't even bother me.
I'm holding this torch. Like,
I'm holding
this is how I hold torches and explore Middle Earth.
I think the area that he is actually in the caves of the where he goes to get the Legion of the Dead.
Could be. I mean,
there's some like mist maybe behind him. There's like some fog.
So I think that's where he goes to get the dead men from Dunarrow.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, it's hard to get all the.
Either that, or it's when they're in Moria.
Well, I mean, so for any diehard listener of the show, we did do the guys and I did the what am I thinking of, the designer interview, and at the Con of the Rings last year. And at the Con of the Rings, Matt Newman talked about, let me back up and say that we asked about like what the meaning of different heroes are in the game. So there's two different Eowyn's. One is the tactics version, so that's her as Durnhelm fighting against the Witch King, and the other one is her as the Maiden of Rohan, and stuff like that. So we asked what what some of these characters would be, and I asked him just very tongue in cheek what is Spirit Aragorn? Because at that point, nobody had any idea that Spirit Aragorn was even going to exist. There's been chatter in the community for years about Spirit Aragorn being the final hero, or being a hero that they have to get to, and things like that. So it's really great to see this hero be released as kind of a gift to the community to complete the foursome. The only hero in the game that has 4 versions of himself as a hero in all 4 spheres. I think that's amazing. But then, we talked about Spirit Aragorn represents the end of an age, and so here it is, Spirit Aragorn representing the end of the age of the game. But then he talked about how some of the Aragorns represent Thorongil, which is funny because there's the card Thorongil that is spoiled, where he was fighting for Gondor. There's a whole backstory about Thorongil, and I'm not up on that particular, but I wonder if Thorongil has something to do with this here, this picture as well. I'm wondering if Matt was trying to give the community some connection in that part, that maybe Spirit Aragorn is supposed to be Thorongil and him fighting as Thorongil for Gondor before he comes forth as the rightful heir to the throne of Gondor and stuff like that. I don't know. A lot of talking that I'm doing because my brain is going overtime again. So anybody have anything to say get me off this topic?
This is a spoiler episode. We won't really know how he plays until we, put him on the table and see how he does. Maybe we'll probably revisit him in the future when we get some playtime with him once he is formally released. But it was very fun to talk about him, so I think we'll just kind of do the round table, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Just for you to be aware, Thorongil was an alias that Aragorn had when he was a young man. When he journeyed to Rohan in Gondor, when he was performing services to the Lords of the Land.
Right.
So my guess is when he went to war with Theoden's grandfather, he was under the name Thorongil. And when he travelled the lands of Gondor.
Right. On the art of Thorongil, he has the White Tree of Gondor on there, so I assume that, and I think that there is something about how he fought the naval battles against the fleets of Umbar. I think that there's something there. I have to, but I think you're right, Grant, about, well, I know you're right about, him. He didn't want to reveal himself as Aragorn, son of Arathorn, so he came up with the alias Thorongil so that he could do all sorts of good stuff there. I don't know. Ted wanted to finish the show, Grant, and we're still talking about lore.
Just if you want a bit of Sindarin, Thorongil is Eagle of the Star.
Eagle of the Star. Okay, so like
That's our boy.
The Ballad of Gil Galad is the Gil there means star. So okay. Anyways, continue the round table. Ted, did you even say anything about the round table, or were you just trying to get it moving?
No, I was just giving kind of some final thoughts that we just got to have him hit the table, but I'm excited to give him a try because like I said earlier, he's going to have his place in the game, especially with the other cards coming out in this AP.
Yeah. Grant, what's your final thoughts on?
Well, like I say, his overall effect I'm not overwhelmed with. On being in spirit could lead to some nice synergies going on with other cards. So who knows?
You don't love him, it sounds like.
Not really. Like I say, his ability for me is underwhelming for the last hero of the game at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And for Aragorn, it just doesn't seem to do him justice.
Right. I think my final thought is this guy is going to be our sleeper. I think that people are going to start using him and say, wow, he's better than we thought. Because he could single-handedly deal with your questing, I think, for the first few rounds. And I think that that's important. So I think that he's a sleeper for the people who are out. Of course, there's people that are not going to love heroes, no matter which hero. I don't sound crazy, but I don't necessarily love Tactics Eowyn. Like there's some really good cards that people just don't love, and so. But I think that there's going to be a lot of people who, when they get him on the table, people are going to say, "Oh, this card's pretty good, especially in Spirit."
That's why I'm reserving judgment. But like I say, at the moment, his ability is a bit lackluster for what I think it should be.
Yeah, and I understand that. So, okay, well, I think that that's going to put the end to this spoiler episode. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And join us again as we talk about more cards from the game. Have a great day, everybody.
And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.